A new beginning. The hospital room was enveloped in a sterile glow, the rhythmic beeping of monitors creating a backdrop of urgency and anticipation. Jackie sat on the edge of the hospital bed, her heart racing in tandem with the contractions rippling through her body. She took a deep breath, the crisp scent of antiseptic filling her nostrils as she clutched the armrests, her knuckles white from the pressure. This moment, one she had envisioned countless times during the past 9 months, was finally upon her. "Are you feeling all right, babe?" David's voice pulled her from her thoughts. He stood by the window, his tall frame a mix of poise and tension, his crisp white shirt and navy tie contrasting with the hospital's bland surroundings. Yet in his eyes, she could see a flicker of anxiety lurking beneath his composed exterior. "I'm okay," Jackie replied, mustering a smile despite the butterflies fluttering wildly in her stomach. Her hands instinctively moved to cradle her swollen belly, a protective gesture that had become second nature to her. "I just want to get this little one out of me." David chuckled softly, the sound warm and reassuring as he joined her at the bedside. He took her hand, rubbing slow, comforting circles on her palm. "We've got this," he said, his voice steady, though she could sense the weight of emotion behind his words. In that moment, Jackie allowed herself to lean into the comfort of his presence. Their journey to this point had been a tumultuous one, filled with hope, heartbreak, and relentless determination. They had spent years dreaming of this child, navigating the challenges of fertility treatments and the emotional toll it took on both of them. Now their baby girl was so close to entering the world, and while the anticipation was exhilarating, it also felt heavy with expectation. As another wave of pressure rolled through her abdomen, Jackie took a deep breath, focusing on her breath as it moved in and out. Just another contraction, she reminded herself, trying to keep her body relaxed despite the tightening grip of pain that accompanied each surge. David watched her intently, his brow furrowed with concern as he squeezed her hand tighter. "You sure you're okay?" Jackie nodded, forcing a smile even as she felt the familiar intensity of another contraction. "Yeah, just ready. I feel like this pregnancy has lasted forever." David smirked, his eyes glinting with affection. "You've been saying that since month 6. They both chuckled, the lightness of their banter breaking the tension in the room, but Jackie sensed an unspoken understanding between them. The real challenge was just beginning. Earlier that morning, the contractions had become more pronounced, a steady rhythm that felt almost like a countdown to the moment they had long awaited. Jackie had known instinctively it was time. After a quick call to the hospital, they had packed their bags and made the drive, hearts racing as the tires hummed against the asphalt. Upon their arrival, the maternity wing had greeted them with calm efficiency. Nurses with practiced smiles had shown them to Jackie's private room, but despite the warmth of their welcome, Jackie felt a disconcerting vulnerability wash over her. It was a strange feeling to be a patient in a hospital that David practically ran, but today, he was not the authoritative figure in the medical world. He was simply her husband, soon-to-be father, and her greatest support. "I thought I'd be calmer than this," David admitted, rubbing a hand over his neatly trimmed beard as he paced beside her. "I've seen countless operations in this place, but this is different. It's because this time it's personal," Jackie replied, her hand resting over the gentle movements of her baby. "We've waited for this moment for so long, and now it's finally here." David leaned down, pressing a tender kiss to her forehead. "You're the strongest woman I know. You're going to do great." His words wrapped around her like a warm blanket, soothing the frayed edges of her nerves. A soft knock at the door interrupted their moment, and in walked a woman in her late 40s. She was impeccably groomed, her blonde hair tied back in a neat bun, exuding a professionalism that felt clinical rather than comforting. Dressed in crisp scrubs, her name tag read Nancy. "Good morning," Nancy greeted, her pale blue eyes scanning the room before settling on Jackie. "I'm your nurse for today. How are we feeling?" Jackie shifted in the bed, feeling the beginning of another contraction tighten her abdomen. "I'm okay, Just starting to feel the contractions getting stronger, she said, trying to keep her voice steady. Nancy nodded, barely meeting Jackie's gaze as she scribbled notes on her clipboard. That's normal. First-time moms often think the pain is worse than it is. But don't worry, we'll get you through it. As the nurse spoke, David's brow furrowed with a hint of disapproval. There was something in Nancy's tone that felt dismissive, as if she were simply going through the motions of her job without truly connecting with Jackie's experience. He opened his mouth to say something but closed it, choosing to remain silent for the moment, unwilling to escalate the situation. Jackie, however, couldn't shake the knot of unease forming in her chest. She had heard stories about nurses who dismissed the pain of black women during labor, and now, in this vulnerable moment, the fear began to bubble up within her. She wanted to advocate for herself, to ensure her pain was acknowledged, but how could she, with the weight of expectation and the pressures of the hospital room looming over her? Let's get you settled, Jackie, Nancy continued, moving to the side of the bed. We'll monitor your contractions and see how far along you are. As the nurse adjusted the machinery, Jackie's mind raced. She glanced at David, whose expression was a mixture of concern and frustration. He could sense her discomfort and wanted to protect her, but how could he fight this battle for her? Just breathe, babe, David whispered, squeezing her hand again, a silent promise that he was there for her, even in the face of uncertainty. Jackie took a deep breath, anchoring herself in his support. The love they shared had brought them this far, and she knew they would need it now more than ever. It was time to focus on what mattered most, bringing their daughter into the world and making sure her voice was heard amidst the chaos of the hospital. As the hours unfolded, Jackie leaned into the waves of pain, each contraction a step closer to meeting the little girl who had already captured their hearts. She realized that this was more than just a moment of physical challenge. It was a profound testament to her strength, resilience, and the unbreakable bond she shared with David. But as the reality of labor settled in, so did the weight of the judgments and misconceptions that often overshadowed black women's experiences in childbirth. Jackie knew she had to stand firm in her truth, not just for herself, but for every mother who had ever felt overlooked or underestimated. And with that determination, she steeled herself for what was to come, ready to embrace the journey ahead. The unraveling. As the minutes turned into hours, the anticipation in the hospital room thickened. Jackie lay in bed, breathing through each contraction, her body responding to the waves of pain that surged through her. The rhythmic beeping of the monitors and the occasional murmur of nurses outside her room created a backdrop that felt both distant and inescapable. Each contraction felt like an eternity, yet time itself seemed to warp in this space, stretching and bending around her experience. David remained steadfast at her side, his presence a grounding force in the midst of her swirling emotions. He held her hand tightly, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her palm as she focused on her breathing. The pain was becoming more intense, each contraction a reminder of the life she was about to bring into the world. In her mind, she pictured their daughter, a tiny bundle of joy who had danced in her womb for months, and the thought filled her with both excitement and dread. "Jackie, you're doing so well," David encouraged, his voice low and soothing. "Just keep breathing. You've got this." She looked up at him, grateful for his unwavering support, but the weight of anxiety pressed down on her chest. "What if I can't do this?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. "You already are," he replied firmly. "Every breath you take is bringing our daughter closer to us. Just focus on that." With each contraction, Jackie felt herself teetering on the edge of fear and determination. She had prepared for this moment in every way she could, attending prenatal classes, reading books on childbirth, practicing breathing techniques, but nothing could fully prepare her for the physical and emotional intensity of labor. The stories she had heard from other women echoed in her mind, but they often omitted the raw, unfiltered truth of the experience. A sudden wave of pressure gripped her abdomen, and Jackie clenched her teeth, willing herself to breathe through it. "I can't do this," she gasped, feeling a mix of frustration and despair. "Yes, you can," David urged, his voice rising slightly in urgency. "Remember the breathing we practiced. In through your nose, out through your mouth." Jackie tried to focus on his words, but the pain was becoming overwhelming. She felt trapped in her body, every nerve ending screaming for relief. "I need an epidural," she said, desperation creeping into her tone. Nancy re-entered the room, clipboard in hand, her expression detached as she assessed Jackie's progress. "You're doing great, Jackie. It's normal for the pain to escalate at this stage. If you want an epidural, I can arrange that, but it might take a little while for the anesthesiologist to get here." Jackie's heart sank at the thought of waiting longer. "Please, I just want the pain to stop." Nancy nodded, still scribbling on her clipboard, her demeanor professional yet impersonal. "I'll put in the request now." As she turned to leave, Jackie felt a pang of frustration. It was as if her pain had been reduced to mere data points on a chart. Did she have to fight for her comfort even here? As the nurse exited, Jackie felt tears prick at the corners of her eyes. "David, why does it feel like no one is really listening to me? Like they don't take my pain seriously?" The vulnerability of her words hung in the air between them. He squeezed her hand tighter, a fierce protectiveness flaring in his eyes. "You're the strongest person I know, Jackie. You have every right to express your pain. Don't let them make you feel otherwise." But deep down, Jackie felt the pressure of societal expectations bearing down on her. As a black woman, she had heard the narratives surrounding labor, the dismissal of pain, the assumptions of strength, and the stereotypes that followed women like her. She couldn't shake the feeling that her struggles were being minimized, just as so many others had experienced before her. "Just focus on us," David continued, his voice breaking through her spiraling thoughts. "On our daughter. We're in this together." The nurse returned shortly after, her expression a mix of urgency and indifference. "All right, Jackie, we're ready for the epidural. Just sit up for me, and we'll get started." Jackie complied, her body trembling as she shifted. David remained by her side, his hand resting on her back as the anesthesiologist entered the room. The man was all business, quickly explaining the procedure in a clinical tone that made Jackie feel like a specimen rather than a mother-to-be. As the doctor prepared the injection, Jackie could feel her anxiety rise. "Will it hurt?" she asked, her voice trembling slightly. "Just a little prick," the anesthesiologist replied, barely making eye contact. "You'll feel relief soon." The reality of the moment washed over Jackie. She was about to undergo a medical procedure while in labor, and there was a part of her that longed for a more personal connection, a sense of empathy that was missing. It felt like she was floating in an ocean of sterile surfaces and cold procedures, yearning for warmth and understanding. David could sense her unease. "You've got this, Jackie. Just breathe," he whispered, his voice a steady anchor amidst the storm. As the needle pierced her skin, Jackie felt a sharp sting followed by a wave of warmth that quickly coursed through her lower body. Almost immediately, the tension in her muscles began to ease, and she let out a breath she didn't know she had been holding. "See, you're already feeling better," David said, his smile brightening the room. For a brief moment, Jackie felt a sense of relief wash over her, the pain fading to a manageable level. She leaned back against David, her head resting on his shoulder. "I couldn't have done this without you," she admitted, her voice thick with emotion. "We're in this together," he repeated, wrapping his arms around her protectively. "We'll meet our daughter soon." But as the pain subsided, another wave of anxiety washed over Jackie. She had fought so hard to have this moment, and now that it was here, she was flooded with doubts and fears. What if something went wrong? What if the doctors didn't listen to her when it mattered most? She closed her eyes, willing herself to focus on the positives. "I just want her to be healthy," she murmured, feeling the warmth of David's embrace and the gentle rise and fall of his chest. Hours passed, the room gradually filling with more nurses and doctors checking on her progress. Each time they entered, Jackie felt the weight of their scrutiny. The more they observed her, the more her insecurities grew. She wanted to scream out her experience, to be heard and validated, but instead, she felt like she was fading into the background. As night fell, Jackie found herself slipping in and out of a haze of exhaustion. The contractions had subsided into manageable waves, but the emotional toll was heavy. She felt David's presence beside her, his hand ever constant, yet a part of her felt isolated within her own thoughts. A knock on the door pulled her from her reverie, and in walked Dr. Nguyen, her obstetrician. "Good evening, Jackie. How are you feeling?" he asked, his voice warm and reassuring. "I'm okay, just tired," she replied, mustering a smile. Dr. Nguyen nodded, his gaze flicking to the monitors. "You're making good progress. I can see that our little one is eager to join us. Are you ready to start pushing?" The question sent a wave of anxiety rushing through Jackie. I think so," she stammered, uncertainty creeping into her voice. David leaned closer, his eyes filled with unwavering support. "You can do this, Jackie. Just think about our daughter." With Dr. Nguyen guiding her, Jackie prepared for the next phase of labor. As she shifted into position, the weight of the moment settled heavily on her shoulders. She wanted to feel empowered, to embrace the strength within her, but the fear of the unknown loomed large. As the contractions returned with renewed intensity, Jackie felt a surge of determination rise within her. She was not just a statistic. She was a mother ready to bring life into the world. The journey had been fraught with challenges, but she would not let fear dictate her experience. With each push, she channeled all her energy into bringing their daughter closer to them. The room became a sanctuary of shared strength, David's voice guiding her through the waves of pain, and the unwavering belief that they were about to embark on the most profound journey of their lives. In that moment, Jackie found her voice amid the chaos. She was ready to advocate for herself and her daughter, to ensure that her pain was acknowledged, and to celebrate the beautiful, chaotic reality of bringing new life into the world. She was a warrior, and she would not be silenced. The birth of her daughter was not just about her. It was about every mother who had fought to be heard, to be respected, and to embrace the power of motherhood. With each push, Jackie moved closer to the finish line, embodying the resilience and strength that had defined her journey. She would no longer be a passive participant in this experience. She was the protagonist, ready to welcome her daughter into a world where her voice mattered, where her story was celebrated, and where she would raise a child who knew the strength of her mother's love. The storm before the calm. The air in the delivery room was thick with anticipation as Jackie braced herself for the next contraction. With each wave of pain, she felt the tension coiling tighter in her stomach, a visceral reminder of the monumental task ahead. Yet she also felt a flicker of resolve igniting within her. This was not just about her labor. It was about carving out a space for her voice in a system that often overlooked the narratives of Black women. She was determined to change that, starting now. "Okay, Jackie," Dr. Nguyen said, his voice steady and encouraging. "The next contraction is coming. I want you to push with all your might. Think about your baby girl and how much you want to meet her." Jackie nodded, her breath catching in her throat. She glanced at David, whose eyes were filled with a mixture of pride and anxiety. "You've got this," he said softly, a steady anchor in the storm of emotions swirling around her. She took a deep breath, focusing on the warmth of his hand wrapped around hers, reminding herself that they were in this together. The contraction hit like a wave crashing against the shore, powerful and consuming. Jackie gritted her teeth, feeling the pressure build. "I can do this," she murmured, almost to herself. She drew from the depths of her strength, channeling every ounce of energy she had into that single push. "Push, Jackie. You're doing great." David cheered, his voice rising above the cacophony of sounds in the room. The nurses moved around her, adjusting monitors and preparing for the impending arrival. Jackie felt the intensity of their focus, and she knew that she was at the center of it all. As she pushed, The room filled with a symphony of sounds, the beeping of machines, the rustle of scrubs, the hushed murmurs of nurses discussing the situation. Yet, in that whirlwind of activity, Jackie found a strange sense of clarity. This was her moment, and nothing else mattered. "Keep pushing," Dr. Nguyen urged, his hand steady as he guided her through the process. "You're almost there, Jackie. Just a little more." The pain was excruciating, each push demanding everything she had. Yet, with every effort, Jackie felt a flicker of hope, a glimmer of light beckoning her forward. "I can see her head," Dr. Nguyen announced, and a wave of exhilaration washed over Jackie. She was doing it. She was bringing their daughter into the world. "Just a few more pushes, Jackie," the doctor called out. The prospect of meeting her baby girl was enough to fuel Jackie's determination, igniting a fire within her that propelled her through the pain. The world around her blurred as she focused solely on the task at hand. "One more time, Jackie. You can do it." David's voice cut through the haze, a beacon of support and love. She pushed with every ounce of strength she had left, her body straining against the intensity of the moment. And then, with a final, monumental push, the room erupted in a chorus of gasps and cheers. "You did it," David exclaimed, tears of joy streaming down his face as the doctor lifted their baby girl into the air. "She's here." Jackie lay back against the bed, panting heavily, her heart racing as she tried to comprehend the reality of what had just happened. The nurse quickly cleaned the baby, wrapping her in a soft blanket before placing her on Jackie's chest. The moment their eyes met, the world fell away, leaving only the two of them suspended in time. "Hello, little one," Jackie whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I'm your mom." The baby's eyes, dark and curious, gazed back at her, and in that instant, Jackie felt an overwhelming surge of love that washed away the pain of labor. David leaned in, brushing a gentle hand against the baby's cheek. "She's perfect," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "Just like her mother." The nurses continued their work around them, but Jackie was lost in her own world. She had done it. She had faced the storm and emerged victorious. The weight of societal expectations, the dismissals, and the fears, none of it mattered now. All that mattered was the little life cradled against her chest, the embodiment of their dreams and hopes. But as the initial euphoria began to settle, Jackie felt a flicker of apprehension creeping back in. She couldn't shake the feeling that this moment, though beautiful, was also fragile. What would it mean to raise a black girl in a world where her worth might be questioned? How could she ensure her daughter felt empowered, heard, and respected in a society that often silenced voices like hers? "David," she murmured, her voice barely above a whisper, "we need to make sure she knows her worth, that she can speak up for herself." "Absolutely," David replied, his eyes locking onto hers with unwavering determination. "We'll raise her to know she's strong, smart, and deserving of respect. She'll know her voice matters." Jackie smiled through her tears, feeling a surge of hope. In that moment, she made a silent promise to her daughter, to advocate for her, to teach her the importance of standing up for herself, and to create a world where she would never feel invisible or unheard. As the nurses finished their work, Jackie and David shared the first moments of parenthood, enveloped in the warmth of their new family. They marveled at their daughter's tiny features, counting her fingers and toes, whispering sweet nothings as the reality of their new life began to unfold. But the feeling of vulnerability still lingered in the back of Jackie's mind, a reminder of the journey ahead. With every coo and cry from their baby girl, Jackie felt the weight of responsibility settle upon her shoulders. She would have to navigate the challenges of motherhood in a world that often overlooked the stories of women like her. Hours passed in a blur of joy and exhaustion. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a golden glow in the room, Jackie and David were given a moment alone with their daughter. They wrapped her in the softest blanket, the fabric a stark contrast to the cool hospital room. "Let's name her," David said, his voice filled with reverence. She deserves a name that represents strength and resilience." Jackie nodded, her heart swelling with love. "I was thinking of something meaningful, maybe a name that honors our heritage." They spent the next few moments discussing names, weaving stories of their families into each suggestion. After much deliberation, they settled on Alia, meaning exalted, noble. The name felt fitting, representing the powerful legacy they hoped to instill in their daughter. As they gazed down at Alia, Jackie felt the stirrings of determination rise within her. She would not let the world dictate who her daughter could be. Together, she and David would create a safe haven where Alia could flourish, where her voice would be celebrated and her strength would shine. As the night wore on, Jackie reflected on the journey that had brought them to this moment. She had faced fears, battled against the dismissals of others, and emerged from the storm with a newfound sense of purpose. Alia was not just a baby. She was a symbol of hope, resilience, and the power of love. But with every triumph came challenges. Jackie knew they would have to navigate a world that might not always understand their story. They would face moments of doubt, prejudice, and ignorance, but they would do so as a united front. The love they shared would be the foundation upon which they built their family, and Jackie vowed to be the mother Alia needed. As she nestled Alia closer, feeling the warmth of her tiny body against her chest, Jackie whispered a prayer of gratitude. She was grateful for the support of David, for the strength she had found within herself, and for the opportunity to create a world where her daughter could thrive. The storm had passed, but Jackie knew that the journey was just beginning. And with Alia in her arms, she felt ready to embrace every moment, to advocate fiercely, and to ensure that their story was one of empowerment and love. Together, they would rewrite the narrative, one heartbeat at a time. The first steps. As dawn broke over the horizon, casting soft golden light into the hospital room, Jackie gazed at her daughter, Alia, sleeping peacefully in her arms. The world outside was waking up, but within these four sterile walls, time seemed suspended. The quiet rhythm of Alia's breathing was a soothing balm, a reminder of the miracle they had just witnessed together. Jackie couldn't shake the feeling of awe that enveloped her as she took in the tiny features of the child she had longed for, the child who now rested against her heart. David was asleep in the chair beside her, his head tilted back, a gentle smile gracing his lips. The weight of the previous hours was etched into the lines on his face, but the tranquility of the moment had softened them. Jackie felt a rush of love for him. His unwavering support had been her lifeline through the tumultuous journey of labor. As she looked at him, she thought about how the two of them were now co-creators of a new life, bound together by the shared experience of bringing Alia into the world. Suddenly, a soft knock on the door broke the silence, and a nurse entered, clipboard in hand. "Good morning, Jackie. How are you feeling?" she asked with a warm smile, her eyes twinkling with genuine concern. "I feel amazing," Jackie replied, her heart swelling with pride as she looked down at her daughter. "Just so grateful." The nurse's smile widened as she leaned in to admire Alia. "She's beautiful. Have you settled on a name?" "Yes," Jackie said, her voice filled with warmth. "We named her Alia." "Alia? What a lovely name. It means exalted or noble, right?" Jackie nodded, pleased that the nurse recognized the significance of the name. "Exactly. We wanted her to have a name that reflected strength." The nurse jotted down Alia's name on the chart, her demeanor shifting to one of professionalism. "That's wonderful. I'll need to check on your vitals and see how you're recovering. You did an incredible job during labor." As the nurse conducted her assessment, Jackie felt a mix of gratitude and apprehension. For every supportive moment she experienced, there was a lingering fear that her pain might again be dismissed. She could already sense the differences in how she and Alia would be perceived in this world. "Everything looks great," the nurse finally said, checking her notes. "You'll be up and moving around in no time, which is important for recovery. And soon, you'll be able to take Alia home." The thought sent a wave of exhilaration through Jackie, but with it came a flutter of anxiety. What would life look like outside the safe confines of the hospital? Would she be able to navigate the challenges of motherhood, especially as a black woman in a world filled with biases? As if sensing her turmoil, David stirred awake and rubbed the sleep from his eyes. "Good morning, sunshine," he said, a sleepy grin spreading across his face as he caught sight of Aliyah. "Did I miss anything?" Jackie chuckled softly. "Just the best night of my life." With the nurse finishing her tasks, she wished them well and stepped out of the room, leaving Jackie and David to bask in their new reality. "What are you thinking?" David asked, studying her face as if he could read her mind. "I'm just excited but also nervous about bringing Aliyah home," Jackie admitted. "It feels like such a huge responsibility." David nodded, his expression turning serious. "It is a huge responsibility, but we're in this together. We'll learn as we go, and we'll create a life for her that's filled with love and support." Jackie appreciated his reassurance, but deep down, she couldn't shake the feeling that they would need to do more than just navigate the everyday challenges of parenthood. They would have to actively foster Aliyah's sense of identity, confidence, and resilience in a world that might not always see her worth. As the hours slipped by, the couple embraced their new roles as parents. Family and friends began to arrive, filling the room with laughter, gifts, and well wishes. Each visitor brought a different piece of wisdom and love, creating a tapestry of support that enveloped Jackie and David in warmth. "Look at you two," said Jackie's mother, her eyes shining with pride as she cradled Aliyah in her arms for the first time. "She's perfect, just like you imagined." Jackie felt tears welling up in her eyes as she watched her mother gently rock Aliyah. "Mom, I'm so scared. What if I mess up?" "Every parent feels that way, honey," her mother replied, her voice soothing. "But love is the most important thing. Just give her all the love you can, and you'll do just fine. You've got a great partner by your side." Jackie exchanged a glance with David, their silent understanding reinforcing their commitment to one another. They were in this together, ready to embrace the joys and challenges of parenthood. As the day turned into evening, the hospital room filled with love and laughter. Yet, amid the happiness, Jackie felt a growing sense of awareness. She listened to the stories shared by family members, tales of their own parenting experiences, struggles, and triumphs, and realized how vital it was to carry these narratives forward. They were not just stories, they were legacies that shaped who she was and who Aliyah would become. As night fell, Jackie found herself reflecting on her own childhood, remembering the stories her parents had told her about their struggles. Growing up, she had learned about resilience, strength, and the importance of advocating for oneself. But now, as a mother, the weight of those lessons felt even more profound. After everyone had left for the night, Jackie and David were left alone with Aliyah once again. The quiet of the room felt comforting, wrapping around them like a soft blanket. Jackie gently rocked Aliyah in her arms, feeling the warmth of her tiny body nestled against her chest. "Do you think she'll know how much we love her?" Jackie asked, her voice barely above a whisper. David smiled, leaning closer to them. "Absolutely. Every moment you spend with her, every word you speak, she'll feel your love. And when she's older, you can tell her about the world, about her heritage, and the strength that runs in our family. We'll teach her to be proud of who she is." Jackie nodded, her heart swelling with hope. "I want her to feel empowered. I want her to know she can speak her truth and stand up for herself." David placed a gentle kiss on Aliyah's forehead, his eyes glistening with emotion. "We will, Jackie. We'll raise her to be strong, to understand her worth, and to navigate this world with confidence." The thought sparked a fire within Jackie. She envisioned a future where Aliyah would grow up surrounded by a community that celebrated her for who she was, her intelligence, her beauty, and her voice. She would not just be a passive participant in her life. She would be an active force, advocating for herself and others. But as the days turned into weeks, Jackie felt the weight of societal expectations pressing down on her. In the first few days at home, she found herself inundated with unsolicited advice and comments from friends and family, and it felt overwhelming. People often commented on Aaliyah's hair, her skin tone, and even her demeanor, as if they were evaluating her worth before she could even take her first steps. At times, Jackie felt the urge to retreat, to shield Aaliyah from the outside world, but she knew that would not prepare her daughter for the realities she would face. Instead, Jackie began to seek out stories of other Black women who had navigated similar experiences, mothers who had fought for their children's rights, who had embraced their culture and identity, and who had empowered their daughters to rise above the challenges. She dove into books, articles, and podcasts that explored the intersections of race, motherhood, and empowerment. Each story resonated with her, offering not just solace but also strategies for advocacy. She learned about the importance of teaching Aaliyah about her heritage, about the women who came before her, and about the legacies they had left behind. As Jackie absorbed these lessons, she felt a sense of urgency growing within her. She wanted to create a space for Aaliyah that was not just about survival but about thriving. It was time to instill a sense of pride in her identity, to teach her the richness of their culture, and to prepare her to navigate a world that could be both beautiful and cruel. With every passing day, Jackie began to craft a vision for their life together. She would fill their home with stories, art, and traditions that celebrated their Black heritage. She would engage Aaliyah in conversations about race, identity, and resilience from a young age, ensuring that her daughter understood the importance of standing up for herself and others. As they settled into their new routine, Jackie found joy in the small moments, Aaliyah's first smiles, her little coos, and the way she would grasp Jackie's finger with surprising strength. Each day felt like a new adventure, a step into the unknown, but Jackie was ready to embrace it all. David was her rock, providing unwavering support as they navigated the challenges of parenthood together. He encouraged her to share her feelings and to express her fears, creating an environment where vulnerability was not just accepted but celebrated. Together, they were building a partnership grounded in love, respect, and understanding. One evening, as they sat on the couch, Aaliyah nestled between them, David turned to Jackie with a serious expression. "We need to talk about how we're going to raise her in this world. It's going to take both of us." Jackie nodded, understanding the gravity of his words. "You're right. We need to have a plan, to be intentional about how we teach her." David suggested setting aside regular family meetings where they could discuss their hopes, concerns, and strategies for raising Aaliyah. "We can create an open space for communication, a place where we can share our experiences and learn from one another," he proposed. Jackie felt a wave of gratitude for David's foresight. "That sounds perfect. I want us to be on the same page, especially when it comes to teaching her about her identity." And so they began to outline their approach to parenting. They decided to focus on 4 key areas: identity, education, advocacy, and community. Each week, they would dedicate time to discuss stories from their own lives, share lessons learned, and explore resources that could help Aaliyah understand her identity in a positive light. As they crafted their plan, Jackie felt a renewed sense of purpose. They were not just raising a child. They were nurturing a future leader, a voice that could make a difference in the world. With each passing day, Jackie became more confident in her role as a mother. She started to connect with other mothers in her community, seeking support and camaraderie in their shared experiences. They gathered regularly for playdates, discussions, and support groups, creating a network that would bolster each other through the ups and downs of motherhood. Jackie also began to volunteer at local organizations focused on empowering young Black girls, teaching them about self-love, identity, and leadership. The experiences were transformative, not only for the girls she worked with, but also for herself. Each session reminded her of the power of community and the importance of uplifting one another. As Aaliyah grew, Jackie witnessed her daughter's personality begin to blossom. She was curious, vibrant, and fiercely independent. Jackie marveled at the little moments that made up their days. The way Alia's eyes lit up when she saw her reflection in the mirror, or how she loved to dance to the music playing from the speakers. One sunny afternoon, as they played outside, Jackie decided to introduce Alia to her first book about strong black women. It was a beautifully illustrated story about trailblazers, activists, and artists who had made significant contributions to society. As she read the words aloud, she felt a surge of pride, knowing she was planting seeds of empowerment in Alia's young mind. "This is where we come from, Alia," she said softly, pointing to the illustrations. "These women are strong, just like you. You can be anything you want to be." As Alia listened, her eyes wide with wonder, Jackie realized the importance of these moments. They were not just lessons, they were affirmations of identity, reminders that her daughter was part of a rich legacy of resilience and strength. With every passing day, Jackie continued to build a world around Alia that honored their heritage while also preparing her to face the complexities of the world. She was determined to ensure that Alia would never feel invisible or unheard, that she would always know her worth. As the weeks turned into months, Jackie felt a profound sense of fulfillment. The journey of motherhood was not without its challenges, but each obstacle became an opportunity for growth, for both her and Alia. Together, they were crafting a narrative that was uniquely theirs, a story rooted in love, strength, and empowerment. In that journey, Jackie learned that she, too, was a part of Alia's legacy. She was not only a mother, she was a warrior, a storyteller, and a champion of change. As Alia grew, Jackie was ready to walk beside her, hand in hand, as they faced the world together. Two strong women uniting in a bond that would forever shape their lives. Voices unbound. As the seasons change, Alia blossomed into a lively toddler, her laughter echoing throughout their home like music. With each passing day, Jackie marveled at her daughter's unyielding curiosity and innate joy. Alia had an adventurous spirit that drew her to the world around her. She was fearless, always eager to explore new places, meet new people, and learn new things. Jackie often found herself laughing at Alia's antics, whether it was her enthusiastic attempts at climbing the playground equipment or her earnest efforts to help in the kitchen by tossing flour everywhere. With Alia's growing independence came new challenges for Jackie and David. They were navigating the trials of parenthood, balancing the joy of watching their daughter grow with the fears of a world that could be both beautiful and harsh. Jackie had long accepted that motherhood was a journey of contradictions, filled with both boundless love and deep-seated worries. One afternoon, Jackie sat on the floor of their living room, surrounded by a chaotic array of toys, crayons, and art supplies. Alia was immersed in her latest project, creating a masterpiece with bright crayons on a large sheet of paper. Jackie watched as her daughter's little brows furrowed in concentration, her tongue poking out slightly in a way that was utterly adorable. In that moment, Jackie felt an overwhelming surge of pride. This was her daughter, a little artist in the making, and she wanted to ensure Alia understood that her creativity was a gift to be celebrated. "Alia," Jackie said softly, "what are you drawing?" Alia looked up, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "I'm drawing us, Mommy. See, this is you, and this is me." She proudly pointed to two stick figures, one with a larger head representing Jackie and a smaller one that was clearly her own. Jackie smiled, her heart swelling with love. "It's beautiful. You've captured us perfectly." Alia beamed at the praise, and Jackie felt a rush of gratitude that she could nurture this creative spirit. She wanted to instill in her daughter a sense of pride in her identity, to remind her that her voice mattered. It was essential that Alia knew that her thoughts, feelings, and expressions were valid, no matter what the world might say. As Alia continued to color, Jackie decided it was the perfect time to share a story about a remarkable woman who had fought for equality, someone Alia could look up to. "Did you know that there was a woman named Rosa Parks who refused to give up her seat on the bus? Jackie began, her voice filled with enthusiasm. She stood up for what was right, and because of her, many people fought for their rights too. Aaliyah paused, her crayons hovering above the paper as she listened intently. What did she do, Mommy? She showed everyone that it's important to stand up for yourself and for others, even when it's hard, Jackie explained, emphasizing the strength in Park's actions. She believed that everyone should be treated equally, no matter the color of their skin. That's something we should always remember, isn't it? Aaliyah nodded earnestly, her eyes wide with curiosity. Can I be like Rosa Parks when I grow up? Jackie's heart soared at her daughter's question. Absolutely. You can be anything you want to be, Aaliyah. You have the strength to stand up for yourself and to help others. You just have to believe in yourself. The conversation sparked a series of questions from Aaliyah, leading Jackie to realize how crucial it was to plant these seeds of empowerment early on. She wanted Aaliyah to understand that her voice was powerful and that she could create change, just like the women she admired. In the coming weeks, Jackie continued to introduce Aaliyah to remarkable figures from history, activists, artists, scientists, women who had paved the way for future generations. They read books together, watched documentaries, and engaged in discussions that explored themes of identity, strength, and resilience. Each lesson became a building block in Aaliyah's understanding of who she was and where she came from. However, the reality of motherhood was not always filled with sunshine and laughter. Jackie encountered moments of doubt, especially when they ventured into public spaces. During one outing to a local park, Jackie watched as Aaliyah played with a group of children. Her heart swelled with joy, but the bliss was short-lived. As Aaliyah approached a cluster of kids to join in their game, one little girl looked at her, scrunched her nose, and said, "We don't play with you. Your hair is weird." The words hit Jackie like a punch to the gut. She felt the familiar knot of frustration and anger form in her stomach, but she knew she had to stay calm for Aaliyah. "Sweetheart, don't let her words hurt you," Jackie whispered, kneeling beside her daughter. "Your hair is beautiful, just like you. It's a part of what makes you special." Aaliyah looked up at her mother, a hint of confusion on her face, but she said, "It's weird." "That's just one person's opinion," Jackie replied, her voice firm but gentle. "What matters is how you see yourself. You are perfect just the way you are, and you should always be proud of who you are." Aaliyah nodded, her brow furrowing as she tried to comprehend. "I don't want to be different, Mommy." "Being different is what makes you unique and strong," Jackie said, brushing a curl behind Aaliyah's ear. "You have so much to offer the world, and the right people will see that. It's okay to be different." As they returned home, Jackie couldn't shake the heaviness in her heart. It was moments like these that reminded her of the work that lay ahead. She needed to equip Aaliyah with the tools to navigate a world that might not always embrace her differences. It was a responsibility she took to heart, knowing that her own experiences had shaped her understanding of resilience and self-acceptance. That evening, as they sat together reading stories before bed, Jackie decided to share her own experiences with Aaliyah. "When I was your age, I faced some challenges too. People would say things about my hair or my skin color, and it would hurt. But I learned that my worth isn't defined by what others say. It comes from within." Aaliyah listened intently, her wide eyes reflecting her mother's honesty. "Did it make you sad?" "Yes, sometimes it did," Jackie admitted. "But I found strength in knowing who I was. I learned to celebrate my uniqueness. And you can too. You have the power to create your own story." As Aaliyah settled into bed, Jackie tucked her in and kissed her forehead. "Always remember, Aaliyah, you are beautiful, smart, and capable of anything you set your mind to." "Okay, Mommy," Aaliyah replied, a yawn escaping her lips as she drifted off to sleep. But as Jackie stepped out of the room, her heart was heavy with the knowledge that the world could be unkind. She was determined to provide Aaliyah with the tools to thrive, to embrace her identity without fear, and to stand up for herself in the face of adversity. Over the next few weeks, Jackie dedicated herself to fostering Aaliyah's sense of identity. She crafted a vision board for Aliyah, filling it with images of strong women, beautiful art, and empowering quotes. Together, they would add new items to the board, creating a tangible reminder of their journey and the values they wanted to uphold. Jackie also sought out community resources that aligned with her vision for Aliyah's upbringing. They enrolled in classes focused on cultural education, where Aliyah could learn about her heritage through dance, art, and music. It was important for Jackie to immerse her daughter in an environment that celebrated their culture, so Aliyah would grow up knowing she belonged. As Aliyah thrived in her new classes, Jackie felt a sense of fulfillment. She witnessed her daughter forming connections with other children, bonding over shared experiences and cultural pride. The laughter and joy that filled those spaces reassured Jackie that they were on the right path. However, as Aliyah grew more confident, she also became more inquisitive. One evening, as they prepared dinner together, Aliyah turned to her mother with a serious expression. "Mommy, why do people say mean things?" Jackie paused, the question piercing through her thoughts. "That's a tough question, sweetheart. Sometimes people say mean things because they don't understand or because they're scared. But it's important to remember that their words don't define you. You have the power to choose how you respond." "Like Rosa Parks?" Aliyah asked, her eyes shining with the wisdom of their previous conversations. "Exactly. Just like Rosa Parks. She stood up for herself and others because she believed in equality." "You can do that too," Jackie replied, her heart swelling with pride at Aliyah's understanding. In the following days, Jackie made a point to discuss the importance of advocacy and standing up against injustice. They practiced role-playing scenarios, exploring how Aliyah could respond to negative comments or unfair situations. Jackie wanted to equip her daughter with the confidence to speak up for herself, while also emphasizing empathy and understanding toward others. One afternoon, while at a community event, Aliyah approached a group of children who were laughing and playing a game. Jackie watched from a distance, a sense of pride swelling within her as Aliyah eagerly joined in. But as the laughter erupted, she couldn't help but feel a twinge of apprehension, hoping that this time her daughter wouldn't encounter negativity. To her relief, the kids welcomed Aliyah with open arms, inviting her to play along. Jackie smiled, watching as Aliyah's laughter blended into the joyful chaos around her. The moment felt surreal, a snapshot of the future she envisioned for her daughter. Later that day, as they returned home, Aliyah was buzzing with excitement. "Mommy, I made new friends today." Jackie's heart soared. "That's wonderful, Aliyah. I'm so proud of you for being brave and joining in." As Aliyah recounted the day's events, Jackie couldn't help but think about how far they had come. The journey of motherhood was filled with ups and downs, but each moment of joy felt like a triumph. They were building a legacy rooted in love, strength, and empowerment. But just as she began to bask in the warmth of those thoughts, the weight of the world settled back onto Jackie's shoulders. She knew that Aliyah's journey was only beginning, and the reality of parenting a black girl in today's society was far from straightforward. She would need to remain vigilant, constantly finding ways to celebrate Aliyah's identity while preparing her for the realities she would face. That night, as Jackie lay in bed, she reflected on the stories she had read, the women who had come before her, and the challenges that still lay ahead. She was determined to be a guiding force for Aliyah, to ensure that her daughter understood the importance of self-love, resilience, and advocacy. In the days that followed, Jackie decided to start a blog, chronicling her experiences as a black mother navigating the complexities of raising Aliyah. She wanted to share their journey with other mothers who might feel alone, seeking to foster a community of support and empowerment. The blog would serve as a platform for sharing stories, resources, and encouragement, a space where women could come together and uplift one another. As she penned her first post, Jackie felt a surge of excitement. She wrote about the importance of representation, the joy of motherhood, and the need for open conversations about identity. With each word, she poured her heart onto the page, hoping to connect with others who shared her struggles and triumphs. The blog quickly gained traction, resonating with many mothers who found solace in her words. Jackie received messages of encouragement, stories of shared experiences, and requests for advice. It was a reminder that their voices mattered, that by sharing their journey, they could inspire and uplift one another. Over the weeks, Jackie continued to write, sharing their family adventures, the challenges of navigating racism, and the beautiful moments of joy they experienced as a family. She felt empowered, knowing that she was not alone in this journey. Together, they were creating a narrative that celebrated their identity, one that would resonate through generations to come. As Aliyah grew, Jackie watched her daughter blossom into a strong, compassionate little girl. She had a fierce sense of justice, always ready to stand up for her friends and speak out against unfairness. Jackie felt a swell of pride each time Aliyah confidently voiced her opinions, understanding the importance of using her voice for change. One afternoon, as they volunteered together at a local community center, Aliyah encountered a situation that challenged her resolve. A group of older kids was teasing a shy girl who had just joined them, making fun of her clothes and laughter. Jackie watched as Aliyah hesitated for a moment, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. But then, with newfound confidence, she stepped forward. "Stop. That's not nice," Aliyah exclaimed, her small voice cutting through the laughter. The other children turned to look at her, surprised by her outburst. Jackie held her breath, heart racing, as she witnessed the moment unfold. "Who do you think you are?" one of the older kids challenged, a smirk playing on their lips. "I'm Aliyah, and it's not okay to be mean to someone," she replied, her stance firm and unwavering. Jackie felt a rush of admiration for her daughter's bravery. Aliyah was living the values Jackie had instilled in her: compassion, courage, and the importance of standing up for others. To Jackie's relief, the other children began to shift, looking at Aliyah with newfound respect. The teasing ceased, and the shy girl offered Aliyah a grateful smile, her eyes sparkling with relief. "Thank you for helping me," she whispered, her voice barely audible but filled with gratitude. Jackie felt tears prick at her eyes as she realized the significance of the moment. Aliyah was not just advocating for herself. She was creating a safe space for others, embodying the very principles they had worked so hard to instill. In that moment, Jackie knew they were forging a path that would empower Aliyah to navigate the world with strength and purpose. Later that evening, as they sat together on the couch, Jackie wrapped her arm around Aliyah, pulling her close. "I'm so proud of you today," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You were so brave." Aliyah beamed, her face lighting up with joy. "I just didn't want her to feel sad." "That's what makes you special, sweetheart. You have a big heart, and it's important to use it," Jackie said, feeling a sense of fulfillment wash over her. "Remember, your voice matters, and you can make a difference." As Aliyah snuggled into her mother's embrace, Jackie felt an overwhelming sense of hope for the future. They were not just surviving, they were thriving. Together, they were creating a narrative that celebrated their identity and empowered them to face the world with confidence. And as Aliyah continued to grow, Jackie knew that she would always be there to support her, guiding her through the challenges and triumphs of life, ensuring that she never forgot the power of her voice. Together, they were embarking on a journey that would shape not only Aliyah's future, but also the future of those who would come after her.